Gotta do it hella big, had to run it back again. Get light it up. Gotta do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Marvel Snapcast podcast, episode 101. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it past the 100. I know it was looking kind of serious back then, right? We was 99 and a half. We finally got to 100. It was a great episode. Shout out to guests and, of course, Sino. Guest, shout out to you for staying up late that night because I know it was crazy. It was hectic. Sino, shout out to him for driving in that bananas weather to get up to Boston to pack. So you guys did a great job. I just went along for the ride. Nonetheless, we're at 101, man. We made it. I'm Ken. If you guys didn't know, the Super Tech God, the gentleman with every variant in the game. And I'm here with the other co-hosts. This person sacks, not just regularly, but epically, the brainiac of the crew, the one and only It's Guest Gaming. Guess.
Hello. I did need to ask, though, just on behalf of everybody who I know who's already thinking it. Every variant?
Every variant.
Got it. Okay, so as long as we've established that, then we're good to go. We're good to go. Because we when we say every variant, we kind of like round it. I think is fair. You know, as long as it's like under 1% missing, that's fine. That's fine. That's cool. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's every variant. That's fine.
Every variant. That's correct.
Yeah, no, we got a little bit of a different kind of show, if you will, today. It'll still be the normal podcast that you all have come to know and love, and we've got some special guests to talk about some very special things. I think is a good way to word it.
That is correct. I definitely love that. All right. Yes, that's right. We're going to kick things off with one of the new guests coming on the show today. And that is the one and only, you guys know him as a gentleman who has organized a plethora. That's right. We use the word plethora of tournaments from Snap Judgments League to SnapCon to everything you guys have ever seen, even the crown. The one and only Gunny T. Gunny T, welcome on in, my friend. How you doing?
Yo, how's it going? Gunny T here, where the T stands for you know what, tournament. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Gunny, I appreciate you. Your camera looks crisp, buddy. You look nice and shiny. You. I love it.
I got this new
Clear
camera.
4K. Yeah, let's
so
go.
Great.
That's what I like to hear. All right, and we have our wonderful second host here with us. This gentleman, if you guys have seen him, I'm sure with Gunny T, he is the master of the wonderful and special Discord. If you guys seen anything work as smoothly as it has been when it came to these tournaments, it's not only Gunny T who's doing it. This gentleman right here, Models in the building. Welcome on in, Models. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, doing well. How's it going?
We're fantastic. We're excited to have you guys here, of course. We got a lot of things to talk about. We'll kick right into it if you guys are ready.
Yeah, absolutely ready.
All right, so
do it.
The way we do things here, guys, we talk about the newest card that's out in the week. We definitely rate it from plastic, which is the worst, all the way to diamond, which is the best. So we have plastic, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. All right. So this week's card, as you guys may or may not know, is Prodigy. Now, Prodigy is on reveal. If this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in front of it. Now, I have played this card, and I've had some fun with it. And the fun I've had with it really is basically putting it in lists like discard and using him as an extra Wong, Mystique, or extra Gambit and just obliterating the opponent's side of the field. That's the most success and fun I've had with this card. Yes, you could do other things with it, but for me, I'm giving this card, which I thought would have been on a lower spectrum, I'm giving this card a double gold, actually. It does have some potential. It is super fun, great in Surfer as well. And like I said, in discard, I'm having a blast. Gunny, you're our guest. How do you feel about Prodigy?
Yeah, so like some of the listeners here, I'm actually not like collection complete, so I have to mind what I purchase. So I'm holding off on Prodigy right now. I'm really hoping. I don't actually think I'm going to end up picking it up, and I'll tell you why. So out of your ratings here, like plastic, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond, I feel like the gold range is like pick this up if you think you need it. Right? It's not like a must-have. I feel like the platinum and the diamonds are like the must-have cards. Whereas I think Prodigy, for me, what I've seen so far is it feels like a gold. I kind of agree with you there. It in like a surfer list, it can definitely do some good things, but what are you taking out for it? A lot of times it's a tech card. So it's almost like a win more in some situations. So you have to be really careful with what you're actually doing with Prodigy in some of the list. And I just feel like it could possibly be replaceable with just like another tech card or, you know, something else that you're trying to do. I haven't heard about it being used in Discord, that card. That's very interesting though. But I am holding off on it at least until the weekend and we get some more reviews and someone else more smart tells me that I need to buy it.
Okay, great. All right. Models, how do you feel about Prodigy?
I haven't had much time to play him, but for the most part, he honestly feels like a shenanigan card. Like one of those weird things where it's like, okay, I could do this cool power, but if I could do it twice, like the same way that like the Doc and Bullseye list exists now,
right?
It feels like that's what I've seen him in, and that's honestly where I think he'll probably find a home. Like we have to figure out exactly what deck wants that maneuverability with the shenanigans, as opposed to like a Frigga or something else.
Okay,
I'd probably put him in the gold though.
Fantastic. All right, well, Gunny T, you said unless somebody smarter tells you to get him, we have Isguess Gaming. He's up next, and he might be able to convince you otherwise. Guess how you feel about the card?
I'm not going to convince you otherwise. I'll be completely honest. I'm in the double gold range. I'm not going to say platinum because I don't think he's a must-have card, but I will probably say he's going to end up being the biggest surprise of the month. I do think that this card overperformed to what I was expecting it to do. And I think that's kind of the consensus for those who have picked him up is, okay, there are these, like you said, there are those shenanigans things that you can do with him. You can try to get him to be a second or third Bullseye or dock in to get another Muramasa shard just into the hand if you're doing the discard side, or you get the perfect ongoing lane stack for tribunal shenanigans. But those weren't, and those did not end up being like the best homes. The best homes are probably some of the more surprising ones outside of Silver Surfer, because I don't think he's a necessary card in Silver Surfer in any way, shape, or form. It's an alternative way to play Silver Surfer on a at par level. It doesn't bring the Silver Surfer deck to the next level. It doesn't make it meta. It doesn't break it. It's just this is a cool thing you can do with it, and people are less likely to expect it. Just even with it being the new card, it's not the number one option because, you know, there's certain cards you think of when you think of certain decks, right? Silver Surfer, first card you think of typically is Brute, right? This isn't, or Sebastian Shaw even. This is not that card where it says, I'm going to be a top 3 pick to put into a Surfer deck nearly every time. It does not feel like that kind of card. However, my favorite home for him was implementing him into decks that have move mechanics. I absolutely loved him in a Batroc deck of any kind. I was doing a Hydra Stomper deck, which was so easy to run with Prodigy, specifically, because not only was he copying the ongoing of a Hydra Stomper that'd be in position 1 typically, but then even if you play him right behind a Batroc, he's now hopping across the board just as much. And the delay of when Batroc would move, if there was a second move on the board, he would move then when the second move happened. So if you have them both in the same lane and you move, something moved into the middle lane, Batroc fills that, and then you go into the right lane and something else moves, then Prodigy would also move too. It created this great chain reaction of interesting stacking mechanics, and it wasn't that difficult to do. So whether it was a Scream focused build, I had a lot of luck with him with Affliction, being able to play out Hazmat a little bit earlier and not worry about it being in position 1 or 2 just to get a couple of pieces afflicted and then re-Prodigy towards the end of the match. That felt really, really strong. But for the most part, I generally felt like those moving mechanics, Rocket and Groot, for example, was another great one. I really enjoyed Rocket and Groot, or a double Galacta, depending on which style of deck you were playing, like the Silver Surfer decks. It's a good option. It's not a necessary option, and that's where I think you have to look at Prodigy. It's a fun, cheeky card, double gold because it's a top end to having an alternate version of surprising something. Like, I would not be surprised if Prodigy found its way into tournament decks because people are less likely to expect it and don't know how to play around it because it's like a amped up version of Mystique and Absorbing Man mixed into one. So it's a fun card, but I'm not going to tell Gunny T, you need to spend your tokens to get this card. This is just it's a cool one. It's an option, but if this ever gets dropped down to 2 cost, it's a must-have.
Oh my gosh, that would be impressive.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, good call. I like that. Everything you said. I think Gunny's still going to go out and get it now. I think you convinced him either way because Gunny loves move and he's going to go ahead and get it.
I'll tell you what, with the new system though, like I don't feel the need to have to purchase anything. It takes a couple days sometimes to wait for the card to pop up in the shop. But like if I'm targeting something and it becomes good enough, like I can get it eventually. And I really enjoy that aspect of it. Again, there's some weight behind it, but like I'm not in a rush.
All right, here you go. Snap Packs is doing its thing. Totally agree with you on that. Next, we have, of course, we're going to preview the one and only Exlixer. Now, this card, as we discussed on the podcast last week, was a activate, which I think would have been the best thing for this card. But then Second Dinner probably tested it out and was like, no, this is OP, and decided to go with a on reveal. So one of your cards destroyed last turn, not this turn, but last turn, gets revived here. So as I said before, I think this card is a double plastic. When I previewed it, I'm going to keep that stance and say it's a double plastic, almost a silver, because as I said before, we're going to have to do some crazy fun things to get this card to work. But I mean, I don't know. The last turn thing bothers me. If it was the current turn, I'd be all over this card. But I think the last turn is the biggest issue. But again, if you guys are playing Destroy or anything else, you might find some way to utilize this card. But for me, I'm going to stick with my preview of a double plastic. All right, we'll start with models now. Models, how do you feel about Exlixer?
Not well. I feel like plastic, navy, silver, but like honestly, I don't. I feel like this is the kind of card that I'm gonna look at and I'm say, okay, I can see like weird, like the craziest things I can see to it is like as a backup for something, like if you have a bunch of ones or you have like a very obvious target, throwing it as like a defensive card in there. Like if you know, like if someone pulls out a Shangurli or if someone pulls out a Killmonger because they're running a Silver Surfer and they need to play 2 other things on turn 6. But I don't see that being a realistic use of this card, and I don't know of like the weird destroy thing that happens with fire here somehow that someone's going to build. Someone is going to build this fire here destroy deck with Exlixer and is going to be laughing at everyone.
That's a good point.
But I'll put it at silver for now.
All right, Gunny, how do you feel about the card?
I have to go double silver on this, and it's pretty much for what Models just said. I think somebody's going to break this, and something crazy is going to happen. And there's a card coming out, isn't there? The one that destroys the next card you play here?
Maybe.
Yep.
You're taking my points, but yes.
Yep. So when that card, that's the bad thing. Right now, this card's not good. But I think with that combo and that card coming out, this card immediately goes to gold.
Well, there's a tumor, so you're right. A tumor does that now, right? Destroy the weakest card. So
no, I'm talking about there's a card coming out.
He's talking about Kid Omega.
Right? Yeah, Kid Omega. Destroy the next card you play here. So I don't know what that's gonna do, but like whenever you're able to target what you're getting from this, that's gonna be when this gets crazy. Can you imagine playing this like Kid Omega, leave that lane open, turn 5 you play Black Panther, turn 6 it's Exlixer and a 4.
Yes.
Right, like that's where I think this. That's where I think this goes. Or could you imagine this in a Wong lane? Like I don't know what that does, but like things could just get real wild.
Or even a Grandmaster, right? So I get you. Okay, guess. How do you feel about Exlixer?
Gunny hit a major point of mine, which is Kid Omega, which is in the data mines. Now, if Kid Omega releases in the condition that it is, this is a package pickup where you get Exlixer because you're also going to get Kid Omega. And right now in the data mines, it's an activate card that says destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. So I think the combination of Kid Omega and Exlixer, if they were both activates, would have been absolutely insane.
Yeah, makes sense.
Different levels of broken, especially because Kid Omega is also a 2-cost card that, again, as of right now in the data mines. So this is a card that if you're a Destroy player, you're going to absolutely love. This is a card that you contemplate replacing, your Deathlock, which is typically the most flex of the Destroy cards in the Destroy deck. Maybe your Wolverine you take out to play this on in. Magic decks are absolutely going to love it. Negative decks are even going to end up enjoying this if you're running specifically the negative Destroy with the nulls, because you can, null Zola Elixir, bring back one of the other nulls again. Like, it's just, there's some cool shenanigans you could do with this, but I think the Kid Omega play specifically, when that does come out, is where this ends up going. To Models' point, the chaos that's going to happen, though, with Firehair, Misery, the amount of procs that are going to end up happening, because when a card gets revived, it does its effect again. So you're going to see that Black Panther come back that was destroyed and was 10 when it was destroyed, and it comes back and now it's 20. So I'm going to leave that number 20 floating in there waiting for... This is normally when Ken implements the "this is why Infinite needs a buff" segment. There's a mandatory segment. I know
you saw it on my face. You saw it on my face.
I did.
I wasn't going to say it. I was going to. I said no.
I know. No. See, I'm so accustomed to saying the number 20 or 20 power, and then just be like, and just getting ready for it. But for real though, like with this, I think that the Misery Firehawk Chaos is where it's best home, maybe Mill, like that combination of things. That's where it's going to settle week 1. But within a month's time, as it gets more and more pieces, Elixir is going to be a much better card. So if you're a Destroy player and you're looking to the future, this is a definite pickup. In week 1, I expect this to be a gold card, where it's good, especially in those very specific archetypes.
Right.
But I would not be surprised if this eventually reaches platinum status in a new version of Destroy that focuses around not just Destroy, but Destroy and Revive.
Platinum, though? You going platinum.
I do. And honestly, if you think of things like Nimrod, because remember, whenever Nimrods, for example, happen, you're destroying and making copies. It's the same thing as Arnim Zola, destroy and make copies. I think that there's pieces with that make this card very valuable. And I think that also in the same week that Elixir comes out, if you don't want to deal with the ungodly amount of destroys, your number one solution to all of this is not armor, but it's actually Professor X. Because Professor X locks down the lane and prevents it. Even if it does happen, it can't bring the card back to that lane. So that's your sniping location.
You're a Red Guardian, so I'm with you.
Wait, but then do those end up in like the Zola cards? Do they actually end up in the destroyed pile?
They do,
yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so if it's Wolverine or Deadpool, those go back to the hand. Like Deadpool goes back to the hand. Wolverine's the same one. X-23 is the same one. It just reappears with more power. It's not making a copy of one, but specifically Arnim Zola and which is now eluding me. The other one that I said that, shiny objects, things that happen. No, when you make 2 copies.
5, 6.
Oh, Nimrod.
There you go. Yeah, sorry, I had a brain fart there for some reason. But yeah, that guy, big Dan hit pink puffy man. That one. I think this. I'll give you that. I do think that those cards have value with Elixir, especially when you start factoring in how important cards like Magic are going to end up being in the next couple of weeks with several of these releases. And we're already seeing a ridiculous amount of Magic once again. I think that this is a card that will age like fine wine, like he is right now. Visually, he is a gold card that will only get better. But dear God, could they have made the artwork at least a little bit more different compared to Prodigy? Like, put both cards on the screen in the video. They're like very similar.
All right.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it. Gold to platinum. Don't get Elixir and get Nocturne for all the turn 7s.
Yeah. Or Or guys, just run. Just
or
this is the return.
I got owned by the other day. Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on, this is the return of Supergiant. Just shut down that turn 5 play. Nobody destroying anything to bring anything back on turn 6.
Supergiant control.
Yes, there we go. Supergiant with Professor X. All right, so you guys heard it first. Exlixer might be a fun card when it comes out week 1. When Kenny Omega comes out, that's for my wrestling fans out there. I know it's Kid Omega, but Kenny Omega, when he returns and comes out in the game, Exlixer might be that card, and that's going to be a fun time. So make sure you guys think about it, plan for the future. If Kid Omega comes out the way they said it is, Exlixer is definitely a pickup for you guys this upcoming week. Now, we're going to talk about something even more fun, and that is the current state of the meta. Now, I've seen a lot of people's complaints, a lot of people just throwing the game aside, getting frustrated because they can't get to infinite. And this could be the lack of no OTAs. Now, it's funny to say that some people cry when OTAs are too consistent. And now, when OTA has a nice break, now they see the reason why OTAs need to happen. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. I know Guess was expecting me to say this earlier. I'm going to say it now. The reason why people feel the meta is the way it is because Thanos is running rampant. You know why Thanos is running rampant? Because Thanos got a buff to the power of 22 and the Infinite. If the Infinite got the buff and not Thanos, everybody would be happy. This would be a very happy time and a happy meta. But because Thanos got buff over the Infinite, everybody's a bit upset.
All right, Infinite should be 25. Got it.
See, Gunny, I said 23, 25 is even.
I think it should be. I mean, think about this too. My Gore is sitting at 33 power. That's nuts.
Yes.
I don't even have to do anything for it.
And Infinite, you got to skip a turn. And Infinite 20 power. It's nonsense. You know how hard 25. I had to work to go to Infinite? I had to play Pixie with Surge to play 60 power on the last turn just to win the games. 2 Infinites and 2 She-Hulks. Like, really? I have to do that?
That's a lot of work.
Isn't it? Thank you. Now,
that could have been 70 power.
Oh, my guy, Gunny T. You see, we here. You know what? Guests don't need to be on the show anymore.
All right.
Neither does C-No, just me and you.
But besides your really bad deck that you somehow made a climbed infinite with,
yes.
We're talking about the boogeyman of the format, right? The boogeyman of the meta, which is obviously Thanos. Yes. I've actually been having some success against Thanos. I think it's taking a while to figure out how to beat it, but specifically with tech card Thanos, right? The one that runs Strange Supreme. If you can dodge tech cards like Shang and Enchantress, it's kind of easy to win the other 2 lanes. Reasonably speaking, their Strange Supreme lane gets really big, so you just avoid it. But other than their Strange Supreme lane, they keep eating power out of their other lanes. Like you obviously had to worry about a Thanos, but like I have been having some success against Thanos, especially the tech version, specifically with Surfer, right? And we'll get to Surfer eventually, and I have some thoughts on that one. But I think that one's fairly easy to beat. And then honestly, just run some more Enchantress, and then like that beats the ongoing
meta we got going on. Okay.
But I do think the reason why it is such a big boogeyman is ongoing, very good. If you're not running Enchantress, it is very difficult to beat. They just put out so much power spread against so many different lanes. And the tech version, it's just, they get to free roll so much tech. They're running Shang-Chi. They're running Red Guardian.
Enchantress.
They're obviously, run Enchantress. Like, you never know what's going to be in there. And on top of that, I think the number 1 card that pushes Thanos over the top and is absolutely a free roll for Thanos is Wiccan. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. That's it. Wiccan gives all that energy for all those other cards.
And it's so free. You get to play your tech cards or play your ongoing cards, whatever you want, and you don't got to worry about the beginning of the game. You're going to draw 1 drop that is possibly going to draw you into a 2 drop, or you're going to have 2 other stones to get you your 2, and then the deck's full of 3s. So it's just a free roll on Wiccan that gives you so much energy. Like that is the card that is pushing Thanos, I believe, over the top.
I totally agree with that. So you feel Thanos aside, the meta is in a good place, or I
think the meta is in a pretty good place altogether. I'll tell you the truth. Okay. I had a fun climb. I really did. Sometimes a little bit of frustrating playing against Thanos, but I tell you what, like OTA is going to come out. Thanos is going to get knocked down, so probably a 6-10 again, or possibly not starting your opening. We'll talk about how to fix Thanos. But I really haven't been that upset about the meta, right? Like I enjoy the decks that are winning. Like, you want to beat Thanos, play Clog. That's what I finished my Infinite Climb with, right? Like, they want to put a bunch of stuff out there. Like, okay, I will just clog your board and I will win.
And let's give props to that Clog list, because I used that last season to get my Infinity Border on that Miles Morales PAX avatar. Shout out to you for that, Gunny. Great list.
That was great. I love that.
We'll leave a link to that list down below so you guys
specifically
can
Shadow King and Enchantress. Like,
oh yeah.
We're not leaving that list. You guys gotta go search for it. Models, how do you feel about the meta?
I haven't had as much time to play, so I don't know if it's just taking me longer. But for this season and the past one, I am stuck in the 80s. Just reached 90 at the end of last season, but like the 2 seasons before that, I hit Infinite week 1. Yeah, and then like to go from there, and before that, I was someone who like struggled to the 90s, but I don't know if it's I don't have enough free time or the climb is sweatier, but it feels like the climb is a lot sweatier. That being said, for the past few weeks, I've had trouble in Conquest, which is where I honestly like to hang out mostly. But I'm back to Bullseye. My standard Bullseye Docking list is working, got me like 3 Infinite tickets already. Which to me says like the meta is split up, because like the anti-Thanos lists aren't working for me anymore because there's not enough Thanos, at least in my pocket. It's like everyone's like, oh, Thanos is the big bad, but I am not running into him that often.
Interesting. Okay. What's your collection level?
I don't know. I am collection complete, though.
That's awesome. That's interesting. I'm impressed.
I will look it up.
No problem. Do your thing. But how do you feel about the meta before you continue on? Do you think it's in a good space?
I think it shifts more than we think it does. I think that there's like the narrative. There's the narrative that like, oh, it's not shifting because there's no OTAs. But I think the reality is it naturally shifts because, oh, everyone's playing Thanos, so we get to play the anti-Thanos, and then okay, now we got to be able to beat Surfer, and we got to be able to beat these other things. And I do think that like this is because we don't ever have the data that they get. They get like all of the data, and we only get like the people who are willing to share their data. Yeah, and I think that if we got to look at their data, I think there would be like this interesting watch of like, no, there is still a meta shift even without any OTAs. And I feel like this might be an accidental experiment for them to be able to point to say that OTAs might be something the community wants more than they're willing to admit, but is not something that they'll speak to a lot, but like is not something that's absolutely necessary for meta shifts to occur, especially when they introduce a card and they enforce play based with hot locations on the card itself.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
Collection level 19,000.
That's not bad at all. You're not seeing any Thanos. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. All right, Gus, how do you feel about the current state of this wonderful meta with no OTAs?
Overall, I think it is a very healthy meta because we're seeing a variety of different archetypes thrive, right? We're seeing if you're going through the climb, I think is a big way to look at it too, because those who climb day 1, day 2, with all due respect, that's not the infinite climb for most people. You know, you're able to do it day 1, day 2 because of a variety of different things, including a higher play rate and a higher player IQ, to be completely honest, more often than not. For the majority of the player base who plays casually, going through the infinite climb is very difficult, you know. And there are some seasons, like even myself, some seasons I'll get it day 2, and then other seasons I won't get it at all. And that's not for a lack of trying, to say the minimum. Now, granted, I get very distracted because of, you know, saxophones, but even throwing the saxophones aside, looking at the meta itself, you know, now that we're a little over 2 weeks, approaching 2 weeks, I should say, into the meta now for this month. And we see Thanos incredibly present. I do think a little bit of it is perception. I think a lot of it is that people look for Thanos and there is a little bit of player bias in regards to like, oh, I'm going up against Thanos again. And unless if you're in the top 10%, I don't think you see Thanos as much as you actually do. And I'm pretty sure that there are statistics to support that. But you look at what you do see a whole bunch. There's a lot of negative running around. There's a lot of Ajax running around. There's a lot of hand buff running around. Like, I've seen more Scarlet Spiders the last 2 weeks than I did in the week that it came out and since. Like, the fact that there's this resurgence due to Surge is really, really interesting to me. There's always a destroy following, but there are different negative lists that are very present right now. And that's just in appearance rate, I think, is the better way to kind of analyze it, because the number one, don't get me wrong, the number one deck in regards to like what you will see the most often is probably going to be ongoing Thanos. However, my response to that is it's barely number one, because 1 through 5 are probably all really, really close together. And that's not going by like any data. That's just the amount of Thanos ongoing I see is about as much as I see negative, about as much as I see Ajax, about as much as I see the other negative. Even I could put them identifiably in different categories at this point.
Right.
Even if you're doing just 1 or 2 different tweaks, you know, oh, I don't have this card, I'm replacing this, etc. Generally speaking, archetype wise, even Surfer, we're seeing a bunch of, you know, I think that there's a very healthy meta right now overall, and Thanos is getting a little bit of an overstated bad rap because in the top of the game, it is the most dominant deck, hands down. But everywhere else, it's just there in frequency, but not necessarily the best deck by a large margin in the game. I do think it's very easy to temper. I agree. I think it was Gunny, you said they drop it down to 610, or I forget which one of you said it, but yeah, drop it down to 610, 100%. They're going to drop that back down. There's no way that they don't at this point. Just, you know, at the end of the month, we got to wait 2 more weeks for it. And I mean, we're hearing enough conversation that Thanos is a problem, so much so that people aren't registering for the tournament because they think that that's the only deck that will be there. No joke. Right. Like, they're thinking like, oh, is Thanos banned because I don't want to be in a Thanos tournament, because that's how present it is. And in many ways, I can understand that concern, but I don't think it's as much of the big bad as people also make it out to be right now.
I told you I'm beating it. Like, I would say my win rate is at least 50% on it, right? I'm not losing to it more than I'm winning. You bring up an interesting point there about like some changes to Thanos. One thing they said on 8 cubes, Cam and Jerry said this last episode, was possibly taking Thanos out of the hand and then putting that on a stone, possibly like the almost like the Agamotto spell.
Yeah,
that could be interesting as well. Maybe the stone says draw Thanos. It's the same thing as Agamotto spell. Draw Thanos from the deck, give it +2, or you play the spell, give it +2.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I think it's
just they always have access to that 12 power, which is really tough. You always have to account for where Thanos is going to go. And that sometimes is a benefit, right? You know what they're going to play on turn 5 or turn 6, depending on what they've played beforehand, and you have to play around it. Another interesting piece here, I think, is you talking about it being at the top of Infinite. There are so many players, I think, at lower levels that are playing Thanos incorrectly. There's so many decision points in that deck that I think that the top levels are playing it correctly. For instance, I play a clog list, or I start playing something that looks like a clog list, and I see people just dropping Reality Stone on whatever, like, you know, I have magic in this deck, and that's going to win me the game, right? Like, that's whenever I'm playing Thanos, I don't ever play Reality Stone unless I have to. Either A, I'm keeping a Wicking Curve, or B, I'm getting rid of a location that's going to, you know, do something that I need to get rid of it, right? Other than that, it's just a 1-drop. I'm doing everything to not play Reality Stone. Or just like,
that's fair.
I don't know, I just see some wacky plays with Thanos sometimes. And that's, again, why I keep beating the Strange Supreme plays. I don't have power anywhere else. Like, all I've got to do is put, 15, 16 power into 2 other locations. Okay, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. And I think everybody here are playing with a different list that is winning. So the meta then is in a good place, right? Because
let's continue talking about the meta. Thanos isn't the only piece of the meta, right? Like I think the next big bad of the meta is Surfer. Tell you the truth. And
really, I would say negative. I would say negative.
I don't know, man.
No,
I would say negative.
I don't remember. Does anybody know how to do this?
we had to zoom in just so you could say this piece. So
this. Oh my! There it goes. Oh my God! Sorry. New camera. Who dis?
Yeah. What is?
Let's talk about it. We got negative and we got Surfer for sure. My reasoning behind Surfer: one card. Man, Juggernaut wins games. I'm telling you. Juggernaut wins games.
That part I agree with. Surfer
wins games too, though.
Oh man,
right. And Cannonball wins games.
And there's so many times where you take a 50-50, right? If there's one location left on a lane, and then another location has like 3 locations left on it, or spots on the location, and you know they're going to drop a Thanos. Like, oh, if it goes over to the one spot, I lose. I'm going to take that. What is not actually a 50-50. It's a 25% chance. We all play into the destruction room. Right? Like you can take that 25% chance, but like the ability for Surfer to one, have great tech cards. Mobius is so good, especially against the next deck you're going to talk about right now after this. And then like the other tech cards it has in the deck, it has power, it has tech, and it has Juggernaut. I'm telling you, Juggernaut is. That's what I did the rest of the most of my climb through the 80s up through the 90s up until I got to like 99. Clog is my close because I'm not going to lose games with Clog, right? That's how I close out Infinite. But like I mostly did Surfer. I even made a Surferless deck, which is really just hand buff playing other cards. That's just a fun one.
That works too. You just buff the Brood and put them in a lane, right?
Yeah, it's got Surge, it's got Fastos, it's got like and Lasher. Oh man. You use an 11-13 power Lasher?
Ooh. That's dangerous.
I got an odd question for you though, because it is kind of relevant to the meta, and I think it's the not so sleeping sleeper card of the meta right now, and that is Surge, because I cannot believe, and I've listened to a lot of content in the last couple of days, trying to take in different opinions of what's going on in the world of Marvel Snap right now, especially as we prepare for the tournament. I really want to anchor myself into hearing as many different opinions as I can about what's going on in the state of Snap. And not one person I've found, big creator to small creator, I have not seen one person talk about the overpresence of Surge. And whenever we've had a card hit the meta and there's a high play rate, normally people absolutely lose their shit. They absolutely like, oh my God, this card's at a so-and-so crazy play rate. You know, people freak out when Shang-Chi is at a 25 to 30% play rate. Do you know what the play rate of Surge is since the season started?
It's like 50 something percent.
Yeah.
And it's running like a 50-60% win rate.
I've never seen a card. Like even when Shang-Chi was like in quote unquote every deck in Infinite, it was like 40%. I have never seen a card break the Shang-Chi quote-unquote record. And anywhere from rank 70 higher, Infinite higher, top 10%, it just goes higher and higher and higher and higher. As you go up higher in the ranks, you see it even more and more and more. It's scary how present this card is. Is it a problem? Yes or no?
No.
We got models.
So there are two reasons why it's not a problem. One, or why people aren't complaining. One is people are bad at playing it because it forces people to do stupid things. Like at least at the level that I'm playing it at, a lot of times people feel like you're going to play an Enchantress in an empty lane on turn 3 just so your Surge keeps going.
Surge. Yep.
I saw someone play Surge into Gamma Lab, which was like, why?
Like so bonuses I have, and that's it.
Yeah, were you done, models? I'm sorry.
No, and then the other reason why no one's complaining is because the variants are so different that nobody can actually tell that it's the same card.
So I think specifically why I think nobody's complaining about Surge is because Second Dinner, I'm gonna give them props where props is due. They hit a home run, right? This card is fun. It's not obviously game breaking. I think that's one of the things, right? A Gore hits the card. It's the card that did the thing, and you're like, oh my God, Thanos is winning. Why? Because of Thanos, right? But Surge hitting the board, you don't realize that incremental value that keeps on happening. And that's actually why they won the game, was because of Surge, which is a good thing, right? You have a very powerful card that people just aren't upset about. Like, I think it's a home run.
I disagree with you. Because I would put this right on par with Sam Wilson.
Nobody was upset about Sam Wilson when it first came out, though. Hold on. Who was upset about Sam Wilson when it first came out before it was in every deck?
That's why
were.
They were mad. That's why they nerfed the shield, because he was
not in the first week. Okay, hold on. You're right.
Yeah.
Whenever Call of Obsidian was coming down, that was a problem. Yeah, but after the nerf, it took a little while before people were like,
after the nerf is fine, but they were mad that it was in every deck. But to Guest's point, I don't think everybody's not mad at this card because it does something completely different than any other card does. And every other card that's being played a lot either destroys power or adds power. This card is not doing any of those things. This card is strictly...
It literally adds power.
No, well, what I'm saying is, as far as adding power, is you have to play this card consistently for it to do the thing that everybody will get mad about.
You're saying it's not like a lane winner, right?
Here's my whole point, because you play Surge on 2, for example.
Yeah.
I get an Infinite in my hand. He's 5/21. What am I doing? I'm not playing him now. I got to wait. But if I got something else that was lower cost for turn 3, and like Tomatoes, I'm going to play Enchantress in an empty lane just so I can get the other Surge thing to go off. Why? That interaction right there makes it why nobody is upset about this card, because it's not guaranteed every card you're going to play after you play Surge will be playable.
And that's especially in the decks that you play. A great point. That's a great point. So Model's talking about playing it incorrectly. That's the entire reason why I built my Surferless Surfer deck, because I wanted every card that I played to be playable from a Surge.
I was about to say, your example of Infinite is probably the most extreme, worst example you could have absolutely used in every way, shape, and form. That's not what you use this card for. You build a deck that doesn't exceed a 4-cost something. Maybe 1 or 2 5 costs at most.
But that's great for what you guys
one turn.
But for me, it worked out perfectly, because a 5 cost 21 Infinite can be played on turn 6 with a 1/10 She-Hulk, without me having to play Magic, without me having to play Luna Snow, without me having to worry about any of that. That's why Surge worked perfectly in that list for me, because I can Moon Girl that and have a blast, because that reduction in costs, whether it be on She-Hulk or Infinite, worked out great for me. So I use.
Is that the other thing? Is that the other thing about her then, that she goes everywhere? Like, it's not like she's making a specific archetype better. It's just, this is just a decent card for a lot of archetypes in a lot of different ways.
I think it's a decent
still
card.
Requires thinking.
I think it's a decent card in any deck that doesn't care what their play order is. And to Guest's point, I think Surge might be like basically the new Zabu. If you're playing a 4s deck that you can play, you cap out at 4, Surge is so good. If you draw a 3, you can still play it. If you draw a 4 on 3, you're playing it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the ultimate good card.
Yeah.
And because it's so cheap and flexible, it's incredibly diverse. And it's showing up in a billion different archetypes in a billion different ways. I think that the presence of the card versus its win rate is what makes it incredibly different, because I agree to Model's point. As I listen to you go back and forth about the good and the bad about the card, where the play rate is incredibly high because in the deck that it's in, more often than not, you're going to get at least one piece of value out of it, at least once, minimum.
Yes, correct.
With that said, though, I don't think that justifies it to need to be in every single deck, because it's just, for most decks, probably poor deck building. It's just all right, I save something here. If you get it down early, if you do your thing.
I don't know.
For the majority of decks that Surge is in, because people see Surge popular in a variety of different decks, I think similar to what Models is saying, they're just throwing it in because it has a cost reduction and it has a power increase, and they hope it makes their deck better. And if you look at the numbers, more often than not, it actually doesn't. If you look at a deck with it versus without it, it's just again, very similar to Prodigy. It's an alternative for many decks, but it's not a necessity for all decks. In decks that you build around it, like what Gunny has done, and very similar to what I did, where most decks did not exceed 4-cost cards, maybe one or two, at most 5-cost cards. Like the Ajax lists love Surge. They love Surge. It feels really good to play Surge in that deck because you're getting a Laufey down on 3 or an Evo even just drop down. Evo was a 3/7 on turn 3. Like there's a lot of good things that happen. Anti-Venom, exactly. Malekith, etc. There's a lot of really good cards in that deck that want that to happen, or decks that
Hazmat
run
Ajax on 6.
Yeah, the Gwenpool or Galacta, getting them down an extra turn early. Like, there's a lot of good things that can happen
Diamondback
there.
too. Diamondback is great, man.
Diamondback, get a reduction on Diamondback. It's fantastic.
In the deck I was using, it was Zabu, Surge, and Fastos. Those were my reduced.
Load them
just
up.
crazy.
Right. Load up all these
decks. Like 1, 2, 3. That's just beautiful.
I think we've hit this one in the ground. Let's talk about a deck that Surge does not go in. That's also at the top of the meta, because you have very specific play patterns.
I said it.
Negative.
Infinite She-Hulk, because you could throw it in. Hold on, just let me out real quick. Let me just get to it.
is not in the meta.
It should be, because getting 0-cost Ebony Maz with Surge and then Moon Girling it, War Machine dropping all that power. Okay, you know what? You guys continue. Go ahead, no problem. You know what? You guys don't play the Infinite She-Hulk.
So I want to start us off on the negative list.
Believe me, I'm good. I'm fine.
I know. No, I'm talking about you. I'm talking to listeners. Nobody played for that shit.
I honestly think that negative is the most telegraphed list, and that's why the fact that it's popular, or the fact that it's high play rate, is not that big a concern. Because whenever I've lost to a negative list, it was my fault.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
you stayed
that's fair too.
Not supposed to. That's good.
I love playing some Mobius and Mobius. I love seeing the turn 2 Psylocke snap. I'm like, all right, cool. Snap back to an instant retreat. If you play Psylocke and snap and somebody snaps you back, you have to run. You know Mobius is coming down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unless you got Rogue. But yes.
But again, I mean, so much just there's good ways to play around. You got Mobius, you can Juggernaut. I've Juggernauted those decks before. Because they normally what happens is they'll lock out one lane that they're saying, I'm not going to win this. So stack some power there. If you got a Juggernaut, you just boom, and then you take them.
Yeah, that's fair. But to answer,
you're right. And models, you're right. It is a telegraph deck, and quite honestly, even if they snap early because they got what they needed, if they play that Jane Foster on 5, you just run. You should leave. It doesn't matter, except for you need to look at their hands. Sometimes they're only drawing like one card. Like,
even so, that deck drawing the right one card can if that's a 0/6 Gore.
Yeah.
As that one card, then you get a Gore Mystique and something.
If they do the thing, run. You lose 2 cubes, no big deal.
Yeah.
Even if they don't, that's the thing I think that makes negative really interesting right now, is that they don't have to negative. They just need to magic.
That's true.
That is correct.
Especially with Esme Cuckoo.
You just need magic.
Yes.
You've got Sage in there. You've got Mystique in there. So you drop down the Gore on 6 and then Sage Mystique on 7. That alone, it can absolutely ruin somebody's day, including
you play negative free repeatedly.
Absolutely.
I do all the time.
Yeah.
So then you also get to toss out what's her name? Jane
at the same time.
Yeah.
Right, which means your turn 5 actually gets to be a robust turn.
Let's not put this further out into the world. Let's nip this in the bud. All right. Let's just politely. I know you're our guest, but shut the fuck up. Let's not make this happen. Okay.
Exactly. To answer guest's question about Surge, I think we all agree nobody's gonna be mad at that card because it's not overpowering. I don't think it's that bad of a card. Yes, it does a lot of awesome things, and everybody's playing like they played classic Okoye when she was a 1-cost. Remember that? Just throw Okoye in the deck. Turn 1, right?
Watch. Yes. End of the month, 3/3.
They nerf her?
Watch.
That would be so bad.
Because of play rate exclusively, not win rate, play rate. Maybe 3/4.
Okay,
Can we buffer a little bit?
Can we make her
3/4?
Can we make her 2/0?
It doesn't matter. The 2 points have never won me a game.
Right.
I know, but that's why I was going to say it. So that
End of the month.
The only thing that does though is it makes her more vulnerable to red
Well, you know what? If they do that, then make Cuckoo a 2 cost.
I would love that actually. I would love Cuckoo
make Cuckoo a 2 cost and make Surge a 3 cost, and I'll be on board with that.
No, all
right. That'd be good.
I think we beat this up.
We gotta keep going.
Are there any more top tier decks you want to talk about, or can we just like list some of the decks? We've already kind of spun up a little bit, but I think like very playable decks. We have your Ajax list.
Love it.
We got what's up?
Love it. I was saying all about it.
Yeah. So we've got Ajax. What else is like very playable that we would expect to see possibly in our tournament?
I think we've seen a resurgence of like Sarah Control to a degree, where you start seeing all like just straight up Sarah Tech. You know, throw in the Enchantress, Killmonger, Mobius, Gorgon, vomit everything together, and then drop a Ms. Marvel and call it a day. Like I could definitely see that list coming back.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Golden Gauntlet. Since we're going to dive into the list of the cards, right? We should talk about that. So we all agree about the meta. The Golden Gauntlet is coming out May 24th, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't signed up by now, it might be a little bit too late once this video is out and released. This is going to be an official premiere of the official Marvel Snap tournament with a plethora of wonderful prizes for everyone to be able to win from 1 to 8th. And it is going to be one of the biggest, or if the biggest, Marvel Snap tournament this year. And yeah, let's dive into what decks we think we will see come May 24th. And you mentioned Ajax. Guess you mentioned Sarah with Miss Marvel.
We're going to see some Thanos. There's no doubt in it.
Yeah. Thanos for sure. And I hope those decks lose. If you run a Thanos, I hope you lose. Erisham. Yeah, we should definitely see a lot of Erisham. Erisham's not bad.
Unfortunately,
Yes. So that's
I don't know. I don't know how much negative we're actually going to see. I don't know how well negative performs in Conquest.
Negative does not. I've taken to a tournament and lost plenty of times. They better not play negative. So
Surfer, we're definitely going to see Surfer.
100%.
Surfer took down the SnapCon, so that was interesting to see.
Yeah.
Surfer.
But Surfer is so versatile. It's hard to say just like we're gonna see Surfer.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's at least a few different flavors of that.
We will see.
I want to see Bullseye. I really want to see Bullseye.
We'll see Discard. We will see Discard.
Do you want to see it, or do you think you'll see it? That's different.
Look, I can't play. I'm not playing. I'm helping run this thing, right? I'm gonna be
this is true.
on not nearly enough Coke and just
Coca-Cola
as a soda, guys. As a soda. As a soda, guys.
You and your regionalisms. You gotta remember. Use full brand. Not sponsored. Also, by the way, we're not sponsored by Coke. Let's get that really clear.
Coca-Cola.
No matter what hour we're recording this at. Listen. Go on.
And I'm not going to actually be able to, play in this, but otherwise, honestly, Bullseye has gotten me really far in the last few tournaments I've been in. Like it's one of those decks that plays really well in Conquest because it has so much versatility. In terms of play lines, and Conquest benefits from decks with versatility, which is why I think also Surfer is going to do well. Because Surfer is another.
I think I can agree with you a lot. One of the things that I think Bullseye Discard does really well in Conquest is if you have it on turn 6, right? And your opponent doesn't necessarily. They can obviously see some of the writing on the wall, but some of those hits are just like I can't even count. I don't know how many times on a ladder where it's like I see some Bullseye stuff going on. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this is enough points. I'm just gonna stay.
Right.
It's a deck where all of its points come out after game ends.
Yeah. And I think people stay improperly on those. Like I was just talking about, I get beat all the time by it.
Yeah. We're for sure going to see a Thanos make it pretty far. It's 2 decks though, right? Everyone comes with 2 decks?
Nope, they'll come with 1 deck.
Single deck.
Coming with 1 deck. Oh yeah. Yeah. So someone's going to come with an anti-Thanos
so many times in preparation. We lost count of are we single deck format, double deck format? Are we knockout? Or
we are a single deck format.
We are single deck format. Open deck.
Open deck. That would be very interesting.
no surprises. That's where, because it's open deck list, that's why I do think we're going to see Arishem. I do think we're going to see possibly even things like Victoria Hand really be prominent for that same reason, just because it's cheap and extra power. And those style of decks, I think, are going to perform really well because they can really cheat power into very specific lanes. And in the tournaments, at least in my experience, the person who can mitigate the locations better more than the opponents better, because you're always playing your opponent's deck. But in Conquest, you have to be, and tournaments in particular, you have to be able to mitigate the locations. And cards like Victoria Hand are really good at being able to do that, because you can, we just got a location, for example, that you can't play 10 power cards into. But to add that ongoing power later on, especially with cheap cards, that is very easy to then do and then have it scale afterwards. Like that kind of cheating, I think, is going to be really valuable in.
Do you think we're going to see like move bounce, move?
You'll
Scream.
See a couple, yeah.
We might see
definitely. You'll see Scream in Affliction decks. Yeah, you'll see that happening. I just don't think that those decks go in competition. I don't think the Affliction decks are going to be able to like really, really scale high enough versus certain. Like versus a Thanos deck regularly, like sure, it'll easily win one of the lanes, but the other two you're gonna have a tough time, because that that Ajax can only get so tall, and once you're able to start forecasting where that Ajax is gonna go, no matter who you are, you can kind of play around it more often than not. I think that obviously that's one of the reasons that Thanos is going to be played. Tech Thanos is going to be the most prominent deck most likely. So I wonder, does that mean the response to it win, or does Thanos win? You know what I mean?
I think there's going to be a response. There's going to be a few people coming in with anti-Thanos decks, and I think they're going. And I think they're going to make it with records like 5-3, like somewhere around there, because anti-Thanos decks tend to lose to everything else.
Everything else, yeah. About to say that's why.
That was something I was going to bring up earlier. I think there are a lot of people who are in the ladder and whatever, they're trying to tech against Thanos, and then they get curb stomped by the other, 50% of the meta. Really, the other 70% of the meta.
Yeah, that's fair.
We saw this exactly happen also, because I know Gunny and I, we've also participated and been a part of tournaments for Pokemon TCG Pocket. And in the very beginning of that tournament scene, Pikachu and all of the lightning decks were the most prominent deck by a mile. And then you'd see one or two people do kind of okay, because they would bring in a fighting deck, which is a weakness of that. And it's like, okay, then you're appearing well. And if you happen to match up against it a bunch of times, sure, you're going to end up with a good record. I think the anti-Thanos decks are going to end up in the same exact position, where you might see a couple of anti-Thanos decks kind of make it to good records, like Models is saying, but it's not gonna. I don't think they'll win the tournament. I do think that we're gonna have some kind of just straight up good cards list be the winning deck, in my opinion, because it can face against anything.
And that brings up a real interesting point. If enough people bring anti-Thanos decks and then they're losing to the other decks, that means Thanos is losing. And then the people who are bringing the anti-Thanos is losing. So then that means whatever just happens to do decent into both.
That would be discard.
I would like to explain that the reason why Gunny's lighting is as dark as it is because it's just the Charlie Day meme in the background of him working all of this out.
Yes, this is true.
That's the truth. That is the truth. If you look at the last crown champion, Abra, who's also going to be in the gauntlet, his deck list that he won the tournament with was a discard deck. No, I'm saying the last tournament he won was a discard bullseye list. So that list might be the one that takes down all the anti-Thanos and the Thanos deck, and it might be the discard. Discard is solid. The only deck that might beat it is any deck that's running Luke Cage, right? Because then that's when you have to worry. Or decks running tech cards. They won't beat them.
Luke Cage is not enough. Because the whole bullseye.
Oh yeah, because what's name will get big. Dakins will just blow up. You're right.
Yeah. Dakins blow up.
Been adding
blows up. Morbius. Right? Yeah, it's Morbius that blows up.
So they swap Frigger for Prodigy in that list, and then just go ballistic.
Yep.
I mean,
you get the second collector, second Mobius. Oh my goodness, and Dakin. Yeah. Okay. All right. We might see a Discord champion. I'm just saying.
I think we've we've hit this one pretty hard, and I know Models needs to leave fairly shortly here, but I would like to talk about the origin story.
Yes. So yes, who is Game On Events LLC, ladies and gentlemen? Who is that wonderful crew? And I'm gonna kick it off to Gunny T.
All right. If you don't know me already, a lot of you do, but I am new to the show. I am Gunny T. I've been a Magic the Gathering judge for about a decade now. I've been playing Magic the Gathering for 26 years, been participating in tournaments since I was a teenager, and just absolutely love the tournament scene in general. I'm an active duty Marine, so I actually stepped away from participating in competitive play whenever I started deploying a lot, and basically it was very difficult to keep up with the meta. So my idea there was to become a judge so I could still participate in the scene without actually having to compete. Whenever I came back from Japan in 2023, my brother-in-law actually introduced me to MarvelSnap because I had packed up all my Magic cards and sent them home and whatnot. And I immediately got hooked. Jumped into the tournament scene. I met Pulse Glazer, a wonderful gentleman over at the Snap Judgments YouTube channel and his podcast and stuff. And he found out I was a judge. So we had an idea of like, hey, well, there's no tournaments. This is around January 2024 timeframe. There wasn't really any tournaments coming on. Like a lot of the bleed off from the Snap fan tournaments had kind of gone away. So he was like asking me like, what is an idea for a tournament? So we came up with a Snap Judgments League that we've run for a year and a half now. And I've done a lot of others. I did, SnapCon. I did Snap Grand Prix. I ran the Creator Gauntlet as well. So far to date, I'm about 135 Marvel Snap tournaments total. And I have to, before I go any further, pass it over to Models. Because from day one for the Snap Judgments League, whenever we started this whole thing up, he has been the backbone. All my ideas, real great. I eat crayons. My favorite flavor is red. So unfortunately, the logistical side I'm really good at. I love running a team. I love ideas, writing rules and stuff. But whenever it comes to making that stuff work on the computer, that is all due to Models. So Models, please introduce yourself on the Game On events.
Yeah, hi. I'm Muttles, which no one ever pronounces correctly. Don't worry. But I am primarily a programmer and community organizer person, like help with running stuff basically. And my job is, like Gunny says, to make stuff work. That is literally what it is. And that means a lot of answering people's questions, like manually filling people's out. So you'll see that like I've been around pretty much any of the events that I'm running. I am just the person around answering questions. Like if you're asking questions, you're probably able to ask them because I've set something up, and I'm probably the person answering them. I like playing this game. I'm not very good at it, as I said, but like I have a horrible actual competition record, but at the same time, I love it and I love helping support the community, and I hope this kicks butt, and I hope we get to keep doing it because it has been a really, really, really fun year from the day I showed up in the server and said, why don't you guys do these 5 things? And then Gunny's like, could you just do them because I don't know what you're saying.
Teach me how to use Discord. That sounds right.
Yep. Yeah, and we have gone from there. Yep.
I have absolutely. Models is the one that has made everything that, like, without any tournament I've worked on, Models comes as a package because like I can't do what I do without Models. I also forgot I didn't introduce myself. I am the tournament organizer. Models is our technical director, and I think we could pass it over to our production management.
That's right.
Hey, that's me.
Saxman
I'm
himself.
The production guy. Yeah. So yeah, I'm the production manager of Game On, and basically I've worked with Gunny on I don't even know how many different events at this point for multiple games, and we've just built this relationship, from these past events of, hey, I love to cast, and maybe I can help with the stream side, or maybe I can help understand, from the tournament rules, or like, because I'm answering questions, from doing the Snap fan tournaments. I'm helping produce those, many, moons ago, and then progressively was like, okay, Snap Judgments is interested in working on, publishing some tournament stuff online. So Pulse Glazer contacted me about casting and putting them up on my streams, and I was like, you know what, this makes sense for everybody. And that was I think the beginning origin of Gunny T and I just starting our regular everyday conversations about Snap Judgments League, and then it further evolved into a billion different things. And then SnapCon, I think, was kind of the true pivot point for us and our working relationship of, listen, we have a great time, we know what we're doing. And I feel whenever we're doing a tournament, if he's got the tournament side in his head running and orchestrating, and he's working with models and doing all the puppet strings in the background, I can be the guy on the screen, as well as, doing all of the stream things that I do. I can handle that, no problem. But my biggest problem in the past was also trying to run a tournament at the same time. And I've run into that multiple times over, and I never had that worry working with them. Then it's just kind of been this ongoing conversation of, maybe we do a tournament here, maybe this is going to start to happen for the future, and then Marvel Snap tournaments started to fizzle a little bit, and we saw an opportunity to really grab hold to say, listen, we really want to do this. And if we're going to do this, okay, you've got the tournament side down. Clearly, you've got the experience. Models has got the tech side down. Clearly, you've got the experience. I've got the production side down, and I'd like to think I have enough of a mouth to be a salesman. I've got that experience. How the hell do we make it actually finalize and all happen? And that's where Ken comes to play.
Correct. So as you guys know, I've known Guess forever now. Feels like forever. I met Guess at the first SnapCon, and at that point, doing tournaments, the first in-person Marvel Snap tournament back in New York, myself, Kawa, and Loot Muncher put on the Creator Clash, and it was a great time. And we thought at that moment, Snap had a good, space to be in a kind of the e-sport side of things, but of course, that's not what everybody felt. So, meeting up with guests and even Default Dan, the Snap.fan tournaments is pretty fun. So being a part of that and seeing how those things run was pretty awesome. Getting to meet Gunny T through a lot of things, right? From Pulse, Snap Judgments Leagues, even at SnapCon, that was pretty good as well. And Gunny T always had this eye for running tournaments. Like, he's great at it. Flawless. Every tournament he's run has been flawless. So working with him on the last Crown, as you guys saw, was a great experience, and getting to know Gunny on that level was perfect as well. Then, of course, being in the tournaments, because I just don't cast and run, I actually play in them. Models was killing it. When I had any issues, Models squashed it hands down. I can go look at the videos. I can go look at the questions and answer channel, and Models had it on lock. So seeing these three guys doing what they do best, wanted to get together and make this happen so that we can bring official Marvel Snap tournaments, or who knows, in the future, other tournaments to everybody. I think this team is a very solid team to make that happen. So I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm excited to see what happens in the future, and I'm pumped to kick things off this weekend with these wonderful gentlemen.
Now, because I know the audience, and Ken, because I've known you so long,
yes,
I'm going to politely remind you that the last 3 minutes was nothing but fluff. Who the fuck are you?
What do you mean?
In
What's
Game
it fluffy?
What do you mean? Say anything about what you do for us?
Oh, I do everything for them. But that's what that's wants me to say. I'm on the business side of things, guys.
Folks,
yes, I'm
okay?
I'm doing.
Jesus
I got it.
Christ.
I'm on the business. I was talking fluff. I was giving you guys your flowers.
This is why he doesn't do sales.
This is what do you mean? I was giving them their flowers, guys. Jeez Louise, you see how guests can get? It's not always about me. It's about
which is actually a great description of what Ken does. Ken sells everybody else. Yes, Ken's the one who makes sure that we can all do the thing we do.
Right, exactly. But yes, I'm on the business side of things. I handle the business, the contracts, the proposals, and making sure we're not getting, cheated out of anything. Right. So I've been doing business, my own business and other businesses for a long time now. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. So I have a very strong hold when it comes to business sides of anything, whether it be finances, whether it be proposals, contracts, etc. So I'm here on Game On to make sure
it's such an important role. So you guys have seen this firsthand. Anytime we have a task come up or a question, I like put a Word document up because that's about the only thing I know how to use. and I just like fill it with every piece of information you could ever think of, and I'm like, that's a proposal. You're like, wait, hold on, this how does this work? Like, so I have this right here. This is I have so much in the brain, and I just give that information to all of these gentlemen, and they're the ones that make it actually happen, right? Like I can't do it alone by any means.
I think that's why the four of us, you know, when the true first conversations started to happen, like it was a lot of two-way conversations. Like I was talking to Ken, but I was also talking to Gunny, and then Gunny was talking to models, and then Ken reached out to Gunny, and it's just like there was a lot of two lines. And I'll never forget the first meeting of the four of us truly saying, okay, if we're going to do this, how can we do it? And about 4 hours later, we figured it out. I'm zero exaggeration. They're laughing because I'm not kidding in any way, shape, or form. That was about at least a 4 hour call, right?
Yep.
And we've really ironed out the full respect of where we all have our strengths. Like I know, for example, from a production side, the things that I want to make happen, not from a technical aspect, but in the sense of like, how can I make the show look good? Okay, this makes sense. So then when it comes to the tournament side, how does this affect you? And then when talking to Ken about, okay, if we're working, like in this case, we're working directly with Second Dinner, how do we make the proposal happen so that way they understand us as a business and we understand what their needs are so that we can produce this on, which is a whole nother level of Marvel concept chaos that we had to go through too. So it's just our respect for understanding each other's strengths is why I think the four of us decided that this was going to be a good idea. And thankfully, the four of us trust each other enough, like, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And I can leave them alone to say, you're going to do that. And I have no fear whatsoever. It's very open and honest conversation. Like all jokes aside, it's very open and honest conversation amongst the four of us. And I think that Second Dinner recognizes that because they've worked with us now on this project for quite some time. And they can respect the fact that you do what each of you do what you do, to use Ken's line, do what you do, because we all know exactly what we do and we respect it. And I think it's only maybe once did we have to have an extended conversation on maybe one topic one time where there was like a divide between 2 and 2 and we needed to figure out how we were going to lay it out. It's a great relationship. And I think that Second Dinner recognizes that. And I want to say thank you to the Second Dinner team for trusting us with their baby and saying, okay, you're going to do one for the community for the very first time. Let's take a stepping stone. Let's do it like this. And they took our proposal almost exactly as is. A little bit of tweaking here and there, but not like major format changes, if I'm remembering correctly, correct? Like
no, I mean they pretty much free reign. They've trusted the experience that we have.
Yeah. Thank God.
And that's the biggest part.
It's made our lives a lot easier in that sense. But like, it's true though. They really have said, do your thing. And then we built the fact that, dude, you made a freaking 19-page rule book.
It's 21 now.
Oh, sorry, 21. Excuse me, 21-page rule book for this tournament, and this is the premier tournament. If this scales, and like, because let's be very clear to the community, we want to do this again and again and again and again.
Correct.
But we got to get this right as a group, as a community, as a Second Dinner, Marvel Snap, everything. Like, we have to get this right and show that the community wants this and that it's beneficial to have this in all versions of that word. Beneficial to have this. We got to get it right. So that's why we started small. It's why the tournament was originally, keywording, originally 256. And then we saw the, no joke, thousands of applications talk to Second Dinner and said, maybe we should increase this just a tad, but not too much.
Needed to.
And we absolutely needed to. And they trust us with that and still not have it be, chaotically large of an event. And if we really hit this, guys, I mean, this is, not just for us as Game On.
When?
Yeah. This could be the beginning of a huge series of events that could end up happening for Marvel Snap, and more importantly, you the players, the community.
Yep.
You know, things could grow and evolve, and the four of us share one common dream. We all share one common dream from all of this. Let this be the beginning. Fuck you. Sorry. One common dream, and that's that.
You know what's going to happen?
Dinner recognizes that we need a spectator mode.
Yes.
Yes.
Hashtag spectator mode.
They are going to buff Infinite eventually, and you're going to need a new meme. I feel like that will be the true tragedy of it.
So for all the listeners out there, I understand that setting aside your entire Saturday is a big ask. You might not make it in. We're only having 400 players into this. So what can you do to support? If this is something that you want to see, if this is something that you enjoy, maybe you don't have an interest in participating, but you think that this is something the community could use. Please tune in to the official Marvel Snap Twitch channel on May 24th, whenever this event is being live cast by It's Guest Gaming, Super Tech God, and KM Best. Those are phenomenal casters. It's going to be an amazing event to watch, and it's just going to be so cool. Is one of our content creators going to take it down? Is one of the top competitors that are on the top of the ladder that were invited by those content creators going to take it down? Or is one of our many that outnumbers all the rest of those public community members going to take it down? And I want you to find out with the rest of us. So if you want to support this, if you want to see more of this, then all you got to do is watch.
Yeah. Agreed. And thank you guys. Thank you to the community for showing up for this one, because the love, the support, the want to do this has been epic. So really appreciate you guys showing up, because that's what we want to see every time something like this happens.
I'll reveal but not reveal, just because we can't for security measures, but I'll say that going into these conversations with Second Dinner, our whole goal was like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's test the waters. We'll release the application. And if we get 1,000 people, that's like God tier level of, oh, wow, we did a good job. People really want this.
So what does it mean if you do way more than that?
It's the best case scenario, because it shows that you want it. That's just the precursor, though. That's step one to making this all happen. Step two is what Gunny just said. You all now have to confirm even further that it's not just about I'm interested. It's, okay, even if I'm not there, I'm still interested in some capacity, way, shape, or form. And that's watching, that's sharing on social media, that's talking about it, that's building decks for it, that's watching other content creators who are, competing in the tournament, that's watching people prepare, there's so much more to it. And it's so important for the longevity of this concept. And that's how I'll word that.
And the sky's the limit. Like, if this does well enough and Second Dinner sees a marketable increase in it because of it, then that means that it doesn't go down, right? We don't get less support.
Goes up.
Right.
Goes up.
The way we built this today is not for 400 people. It's for as many people as they'll let us have. That's really what it is. Like, we're the reason why I'm around, and the reason why we're doing it this way is we built it so that if there's the space for it, and if there's the want for it, and if we can sell it, it's like they're saying, the sky's the limit. We have the space.
That is correct.
I just have, like, in my head, like, we've all watched some kind of competitive gaming in some way, shape, or form. Like, I envision, like, Ken and I have had the in-person events. I'm imagining, like, this, like, grand scale $10 bajillion lights production tournament epicness. People are flowing in and they're competing live, and like, that's what I want for Marvel Snap. It's not just about having a phone app. It's about a whole deeper competitive tournament scene that also makes for great entertainment, great broadcast, great everything. I want that for the community. I've wanted that for a long time for the community, and now this is the beginning of seeing, will it actually stay in the community in this aspect. So
I'll consider us successful when the two finalists are playing on a stage in front of each other, and then when the win happens, confetti blows up everywhere. That's what I want to see.
I agree. With a trophy
coming out. I can make
coming
digital
out.
confetti for the first one. That one I can make happen.
All right.
We will expect it.
Yes, indeed.
Done.
Now you have to.
All right, guys.
Confetti.
Done.
So
I have that already programmed. Done.
Yeah, it might happen. So normally we'll read some comments from the last video, but we're not doing that tonight. Tonight, I want you guys to leave comments down below. Any questions you want to ask any of the team members, we'll make sure to respond back to you guys, whether we do it on the next video or we do it on one of our socials. So make sure you guys follow everybody here. Before we go, last and closing comments. Models, how did you enjoy the show? Are you pumped? Are you excited for next weekend?
Hell yeah. I am looking forward to consistently having no sleep for the month.
And where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Mostly like the Discord servers that we have around. So like the Snap Judgments League Discord server, the Marvel Snap Discord server, and technically I'm on Blue Sky, but it is mostly photos of my cat.
Awesome. See, cat lovers, make sure you guys go check out his Blue Sky. Gunny T, how you feeling? You excited? You're pumped?
Look, I am tired. I'm very tired. There's been so much work going into this. Yeah. But I tell you what, the thing that keeps me going is just like I'm so pumped and excited for this. Like I really am. There's no way to go around this. This is probably the coolest thing that we could have done. We're bringing public tournaments officially sponsored to Marvel Snap. That is what I believe players want. I'm so happy that we've gotten the experience behind us to make it a reality. And I'm so excited to just knock it out of the park. Like I already know that this is going to go well. I've tested it time and time again. And not only that, like we have such great measures in place. We're working with the Top Deck team to make the application better. So that way it's just smoother. Everything is lining up so well for us. This is going to go fantastic. And I'm super excited to be working with this team. That's how I feel. All right, Ken?
I love it. I love it. Where people can find you?
Really? One, you can find any of us on the official Marvel Snap server at Tournament Team, or you can find me pretty much anywhere on Discord now. I don't really use socials too much, but any of the Discord servers at Gunny T.
Awesome. Yes. I'm going to ask you. You're going to answer me.
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling right now? You look tired, but how you feeling?
Yeah, you basically took the words out of my mouth. That's about right. That's also, the life of a content creator. There is no sleep. There's just log in, log off sleep, sort of.
Yes.
But not really, because you sleep on stream occasionally. I mean, that's you.
That's
maybe,
me. Yeah,
maybe
sure.
King of Canada occasionally as well.
Yeah,
but it's mostly you. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But but you haven't ever since.
I haven't in a while.
Advanced.
GG.
Anyway,
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. See, sponsorship. There you go. Because Vic, hey buddy, whenever you want to sponsor the podcast, I'm you're welcome. And by the way,
that's fair.
Let's make that happen. But no, but for real, I'm very excited for this tournament. Like, in all honesty, the fact that we get the chance to do this is insane. I've personally been incredibly, lucky and grateful for every opportunity I've had in the Marvel Snap community and being able to do as much as I have with the Marvel Snap team. All jokes, employee of the month, whatever. I'm completely honest. Like, the fact that they've trusted me in a variety of different projects, and now I happen to be in this team, and they're trusting this team with this big of a project. It's just, it's been a roller coaster of a year already. And I am excited for it. I am tired as hell, like all of us, because it is a lot of work, but it's also the first one. The first one is always going to be the most work. And
correct. Yes, the year's not halfway done yet.
No, like full year, not 2025. The last year for me in general has been absolutely chaotic, and I'm very grateful for it, because it was about a year ago I did my first ever content for Marvel, which was the Blink video. And ever since then, me as a content creator has never been the same. And now here we are doing something like this. So I'm very excited, but very ready to feel the cool side of my pillow.
I hear that. All right, so that wraps it up, guys. We're pumped. We're excited.
How does that wrap it up? Wait. Hold on. Ken,
what you mean?
How you feeling about this?
I'm hyped. I'm pumped. I'm not tired. I'm not sleepy. I'm excited. I make sure I want to see everybody next weekend, whether you're in the tournament or whether you're watching it, whether you're talking about it the next day, whether you're talking about it in your podcast, whether you're tweeting about it, you're on Reddit. Make sure you guys talk about this event. If you guys want to see more, tell us what we did good, what we did bad. Either way, it all is the same for us. We want to hear you guys. And we want to see what happens after the tournament is completed. So I'm pumped and I'm ready to go. I wish it was right now. Start it up right now. Let's go.
All right, now you can take us out, Ken.
All right, guys. Thanks again for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. It was an awesome episode. And again, cannot wait for the next event that we do with each other. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.